What's good, guys? Sorry, I just messed up my whole living room or whatever. All right, what's good, guys? Welcome back to the last minute predictions. We're gonna be breaking down the main event, starting with the main event, ending with the prelims. We're gonna be breaking down each and every single one of these fights. I just want to mention we lost the Cody Garbrandt Miles John fight. I think we all knew that. Nicholas Dalby pulled out against Elizeu Zaleski. Zaleski has a new opponent, Zach, and we lost Ricky Turcios versus Bernardo Sopai. I think Ricky Turcios didn't want nothing to do with Bernardo Sopai, so we know a lot of people make calculated weight misses. But is this new? Every week we have somebody miss weight on purpose, calculated miss weight, or just not being able to make weight at all just because they don't try hard enough. Neil Magny versus Carlos Prates, going to be a good card no matter what. 11 fights, very disappointing. We should have more fights. It's very lackluster that we have a lot of UFC bouts and every Saturday we have fights, but there's always something that happens. But at least we got the main event. Carlos Prates versus Neil Magny. Carlos Prates, first main event, pretty quick. They skyrocketed him up. Every time they're looking for a guy like Neil Magny, they're looking for a guy to feed him to the wolves. So they either give Neil Magny a guy like Shavkat, they give a guy, Neil Magny, the up-and-coming prospect. And every time there's a competitive guy on the rise, they feed him to Neil Magny. Neil Magny averages around 2 takedowns per fight. He is 22-11 in the UFC. He has fought the who's who of the division. He's coming off of that KO loss to Michael Morales, where he came in with the wrestling game plan, but then he was cracked. And getting cracked is tricky when you're taking on a guy like Carlos Prates, a dangerous striker who smokes cigs right before his fights. Big power, good range, good control, light on his feet, light on his toes, throws kicks to any body part whenever he wants, launches head kicks at the drop of a dime, throws spinning kicks, and will defend most takedowns that come his way. Power, accuracy, absolutely insane. He's coming off of that KO win over the Leech, where everyone said Leech couldn't be knocked out, and Carlos said bet. Prates finished him. Prates is on a 9-fight KO win streak, and this fight will make it 10. Sure, Neil Magny is miles ahead of him in the experience. Neil has well over 30 fights in the UFC. I don't see how Magny can win other than wrestling and cage control. Prates is too accurate, too good off the footwork to get caught in a sloppy takedown. Neil needs to slow this fight down to get this fight against the cage. If Neil wants to win, he has to cage control, and he needs to make it to the third round. Prates is the pick. Odds are long gone. Maybe Prates by KO. So let me tell you guys my best props. We look at the face-off. These guys get right into each other's face, and it gets dirty, it gets grimy, it gets gritty. Over 1.5, minus 132. Like I said in my 6 best bets. Carlos Prates by KO, minus 300. And then Prates by KO rounds 1, 2, or 3. Minus 180. If you got it the day of my 6 best bets, it was a minus 175. So those are my 3 best props for this fight. Over 1.5, minus 132. We know worst case scenario, he gets a first round KO. Over 1.5 doesn't hit. Over 1.5 is 7.5 minutes. Does this fight go over 7.5 minutes? Does it go halfway into the second round? I think it does. I think Neil Magny should be able to show how tough he is. And he's shown that he's in the UFC for a reason. Not only just to get fed to the toughest guys in the division, in the organization, but he's here because he's a veteran, and he's been here because he's an extraordinary veteran, and he's very good at surviving. So give me the over 1.5 at a minus 132. Give me Carlos Prates by KO, minus 300. And give me Prates by KO rounds 1, 2, or 3 at a minus 180. Should be a very good fight. I think this fight is going to make a lot of people like Prates. I think if Prates can get this KO, a lot of people are going to be put on the map with him, and he's going to be a fan favorite just like Alex Pereira. This is now the co-main. I would have loved to see Cody Garbrandt fight. Every time Cody Garbrandt fights, it's always a good fight. But now we got Gerald Meerschaert versus Reinier de Ridder. It's going to be a very competitive fight as well. So it's not bad as a co-main, and more people get to know who this guy is. Like I said in my prediction video, I said that this is going to be one of the most, if not most elite fights in the scrambling department, in the wrestling department, in the wrestling exchanges. This is going to be one of my most anticipated fights, if not my most anticipated fight other than the main event. Gerald Meerschaert's a plus 240. Reinier de Ridder is a minus 310. Gerald's taking on a UFC newcomer. We know Gerald by now is the mustache king, solid grappler, always live for a sub. People question his chin. His chin might quit, but he definitely won't quit. He's an incredibly talented grappler, but like so many others, like Aaron Blanchfield of the world, doesn't have very good offensive wrestling. Even though he averages a little over 2 takedowns per fight, he has a very low 36% takedown accuracy. He's coming off of that most typical Gerald Meerschaert fight where he got his ass kicked and then somehow survived, got a takedown, and won by submission. He's taking on De Ridder, former 2 Division 1 FC middleweight and light heavyweight champion. Very, very high prospect and very high notice for this guy. A lot of people like this guy, and if you've seen him fight in ONE FC, you know that this guy's pretty good. Solid grappler, good takedowns, good subs, tall as fuck, 6'4", built for MMA, long arms, long legs, will strike, but not very clean, thrives on the ground. In fact, he lost both of his belts to the same person, could not get the takedowns, and could not hang on the feet, but his BJJ is dangerous. He's basically the next evolution of Gerald Meerschaert. Very good BJJ, but much better takedowns than Gerald Meerschaert, in my opinion. Both these guys suck at striking, but the Ritter's longer and will have more success. A debut guy versus the comeback king should be a high scrambling, high wrestling exchange fight. And Reinier is the pick below confidence. My best props for this fight is fight doesn't go the distance. No, -164. Over 2.5, -102 if you want. Under 2.5 is a little bit better at a -124. You don't have to play that game. Fight ends by sub, +120. I like that. Meerschaert by sub or KO, +440. A little bit of a Hail Mary because we know this is comeback king. Meerschaert by sub or points, +290. And then De Ridder by sub or on points, -180. And De Ridder by KO or on points, +110. So my best prop is De Ridder by sub or on points at a -180. Turns a -310 into a -180. And I think if this is going to be a very competitive fight ends by sub at a +120. Not bad, worth a sprinkle. Very competitive fight. When we see them match up, this guy is tall, but we know that a guy like Gerald Meerschaert, his bread and butter is the grappling department. So if this gets to the ground, Gerald Meerschaert's going to want that. So not bad to sprinkle a guy of the comeback king versus the UFC debut, former 2-division ONE FC champion. I'm going to go De Ridder by submission or on points. And if he wins by decision, I'll go 29-28, unanimous decision after losing the first round. But we know Gerald Meerschaert is a finisher. This guy's a finisher. This fight might not go the distance. So I think fight ends by submission, and I think De Ridder by submission or on points is the best prop, and fight doesn't go the distance at a -164. Going to be a very good fight. Gerald Meerschaert just has that cold stare. Can never go wrong with a Gerald Meerschaert fight. Gaston, Bolaños. The card moved all over the place. Bolaños versus Cortavious, Romious. So my notes are all over the place, but Cortavious, Romious versus Gaston, Bolaños. Cortavious is a -210. Bolaños is a +176. Bolaños is a solid striker, good Muay Thai, full Muay Thai background actually, good power, willingness to engage, Muay Thai world champion, bunch of spinning kicks, back elbows, wrestling, bunch of explosivity, but he has a good guard. He's coming off of that KO loss to Marcus Magny, and he's taking on Cortavious Romious. Solid grappler, decent striking, good power, heavy kicks. He doesn't throw well in combos, but throws hard and moves forward. His takedowns are solid. He looks for subs on the ground, not just control time. He's coming off of that redemption win on the Contender Series. Gaston, Bolaños is very good, but I think Romious is more well-rounded, but he's a bit chinny. Give me the guy with multiple paths to victory, Cortavious, but we have seen him in the octagon, this same exact octagon, the Apex, unconscious in under a minute. Give me Cortavious Romious to win, but it's going to be a very competitive fight. Cortavious is a guy who actually avenged his loss on Dana White Contender Series, which is actually very good to see the fact that he's making progress, considering that he got knocked out in brutal fashion against Roman Tavares. But we know that this guy is very explosive, and that sometimes could be a double-edged sword. Sometimes that could lead him to be able to get the finish early or him get finished early. Fight doesn't go the distance. No, at a -215. Yes, at a +168. Give me no at a -215. Under 2.5, -156. Romious by sub or on points, -135. Romious by KO or on points, +160. Romious by KO or sub, +105. That's a little bit more likely. I think Romious by sub or on points, -135. But we know he can get a KO, so I had to throw in that Hail Mary in there. Under 2.5, -156. My best prop, and fight doesn't go the distance. No at a -215. Give me Cortavious Romious to win this fight by submission or on points. He could get the KO. You guys saw my 6 best bets. This guy has some crazy power, but I just think that his grappling is his bread and butter, and I have a good feeling, a little sneaky feeling that it'll be a submission. So give me Cortavious Romious to win by submission or on points at a -135. But if you like KO or on points, it's a +160. And if you like by KO or sub, it's a +105. Just give me this fight. Doesn't go the distance at a -215. And give me Cortavious Romious to win this fight by submission or on points at a -135. Very competitive fight. I think Bolaños has some pretty sick tattoos, but his fight game, he's going to have to bring all and everything he's got into this cage. And I think somebody's going to get finished in this fight. So give me Cortavious to win inside the distance. Another good fight, Gillian Robertson versus Luana Pinheiro. You know, these fight nights are very underrated because we get good fights like this. This is a good fight, and I know a lot of people are probably going to be taking a bathroom break during this fight, but it's a good fight that we all need to mention. My notes are all over the place, so Luana Pinheiro's a plus 310. Gillian Robertson's a minus 420. Luana's a powerful striker, solid takedowns, good BJJ. We know her boyfriend just got cut from the UFC, Mateus Nicolau, but they have some similarities in their fight game, their point game. Luana Pinheiro does have a little bit of power for her division, but I think this fight's going to end inside the distance. I think this is a fight that Gillian Robertson is better than her in all aspects of fighting. And I think Gillian Robertson moving down to 115 is her bread and butter. I think her moving down to 115, yes, it's a little bit of a deeper cut, a little bit of a harder cut, but this is probably the best division for her. She's doing way better at 115 than she's doing at 125. So give me the under 2.5 at a minus 152. Over 2.5 is plus 120 if you want to play that. I like the under 2.5 better. Robertson by sub or on points, minus 220, but we know Luana Pinheiro could get finished by KO. She tends to get finished. She's gotten finished by Angela Hill, one of the least dangerous fighters in the division. So now you're fighting one of the most dangerous submission specialists in the whole strawweight division. So how is that going to play out? I think it's going to end by sub. I think Robertson by sub or on points, minus 220 is good, but remember, if she gets a ground and pound TKO, the elbows 12-6. 12-6 are added, so she's going to be trying to work that game. And I think the new rule set is perfect for a girl like Gillian Robertson to establish her game and improve her game. Will this fight go the distance? No, at a minus 205. I think that's better, just in case she gets a KO or a submission. You don't want to play that double chance where you go Robertson by sub or on points, and then she gets a KO and it doesn't hit. So one of the best props, if not my best prop, is fight doesn't go the distance. No, at a minus 205. And then you want to go Robertson by KO or on points is a plus 140. Robertson by KO or sub, minus 140. But then if it goes the distance, then it doesn't cash. So I like fight doesn't go the distance. No, at a minus 205. Robertson by sub or on points, minus 220. And then the under 2.5 at a minus 152. I think Robertson should be able to finish this fight inside the distance. Very close, competitive fight. Very, very, very good fight, and I will be watching this fight. It's going to be a very good fight. I can't wait to see the grappling exchanges. So let's go. Now, this is going to be a good fight. This is my lock of the week. Mansur Abdul-Malik versus Duško Todorović. This fight is, if not my most anticipated fight of the entire card. Mansur Abdul-Malik is a guy who has that power, relentless power. When a guy's making his UFC debut and they put the prop as over 1.5 or under 1.5, this guy's a menace. Mansur Abdul-Malik is a minus 500, one of the biggest favorites. Yesterday he was, or earlier in the week, he was a smaller favorite. Now he grew. Mansur Abdul-Malik versus Duško. Duško is a plus 360. UFC debut for Mansur. Very good grappler. He grappled at the college wrestling experience. Expect a bunch of takedowns. He comes forward, throws heavy, shoots, and has a good lift. That's one of my most important things about him. He has a good lift you up and take you down and slam you on your back and takes your back down in great control on the ground. He flows nicely between transitions and also has great elbows, and he will work on top. He's not just hanging out and just trying to stall. He looks for a finish. He's taking on Todorović, a technical striker, has good power, also has decent takedowns and good BJJ. He's a high-volume guy who lands almost 6 significant strikes per minute, but there's questions about his chin. He's coming off of that freak knee injury loss to CLD, Christian Leroy Duncan, about a year ago. I like Mansur. Good wrestling, good explosivity. He does damage. He works. He was a minus 330 earlier in the week. Now he's a minus 500, so if you got him early, you got him good. But I'm confident in his UFC debut, and he's parlayable. So the under 1.5, minus 164, over 1.5, plus 128, under 1.5 is favored. So it means that this fight's not going to go the distance. Will this fight go the distance? No, at a minus 600. Double chance, Malik by KO or sub, minus 270. My best prop in my opinion, because if this fight doesn't go the distance, that means Malik's either going to win by submission or on points, or either gets finished himself. So I think that's the best prop at a minus 270. Turns a minus 500 into a minus 270. Malik by KO or on points, just in case, minus 300. Malik by sub or on points is a plus 340. Which is a little bit unlikely. We know he has gotten submissions before, but if he's going to win this fight, it seems like the bookies think he's going to win this fight by KO, because Malik by KO straight method of victory is a minus 175. And I think that's a very good prop, but we never know, because if Duško gives up his back and he falls into a nice rear naked choke, then that doesn't hit. I like Malik by double chance by KO or submission, minus 270. I like the under 1.5 at a minus 164. And I like Malik by KO at a minus 175, just straight. I think this fight doesn't go the distance, and I think this is going to be a very good fight. Let's go, lock of the week. Let's go. Continue the lock of the week streak. This is my longest lock of the week streak. Will this be 7 lock of the week streak, or will it all crash and burn? We find out tomorrow. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, she looks really young versus Denise Gomes. She actually looks, maybe I'm not looking at the face really that good, but from here she looks pretty young. But we know she's not the youngest competitor in her division. Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Denise Gomes. Denise Gomes is minus 500. One of the biggest favorites on the card, just like Mansur. And Karolina is a plus 385. Karolina is a staple in this division. She's been fighting for over 10 years. Good kickboxer, solid technique, and good grit. She averages over 6 significant strikes per minute, high volume, and mainstayed a solid 73 takedown defense. She has a long career with a lot of ups and downs. It wasn't too long ago she fought for a title. Shortly after that, she hit a 4-fight losing skid. More recently, her 4-fight win streak just crashed down in her last fight when she lost to Iceman Lucinda, where she looked old, slow, and she's taking on Gomes, a striker who can grapple as well. She's hittable, but very tough, comes forward, bites down on her mouthpiece, and bombs away. Slow starter, but once she's styled in, she has no problem to take one, to give one. Good kicks, dangerous on the ground, coming off of that decision win over Eduarda Moura, who we know Eduarda Moura is set to face off against Veronica Hardy. Eduarda Moura, where she gave up 5 takedowns. Denise Gomes was taken down 5 times, but dominated the striking department. In general, women tend to have longer careers than men. Karolina is finally looking older, and Denise can wrestle. If she can expose Karolina's age, it will be in this fight. Karolina's a vet. Gomes is going to be the pick, but at 5-1 odds, it's nuts. Gomes is not that good to fit her price tag. Denise Gomes by points, just by decision, minus 130. Denise Gomes by submission on points, minus 170. And Denise by KO on points, minus 370, the most favored. Over 2.5 is favored at a minus 300. And fight goes the distance, yes, at a minus 235. Give me fight goes the distance, yes, at a minus 235. Give me Denise Gomes by points at a minus 130. And just in case, give me Denise by KO or on points at a minus 370. Should be a very competitive, close fight. But I think Denise Gomes, it's her time. Her bread and butter is to fight girls like this. And if she can get her game plan going, she should be able to win that fight. A new scheduled bout, Elizeu Zaleski versus a newcomer, Scroggin. You know, I like guys like this who just step up on short notice, on 3 days' notice, 2 days' notice, and they're competing in a whole new organization. Yes, he gets a UFC contract. Yes, he benefits a little bit more taking this fight on short notice, but he might even get finished in this fight. So the fact that this guy's taking this fight on short notice means that he's saving the card, and he's doing a lot of things that a lot of fighters who are already in the UFC are not willing to do. Guys like Ricky Turcios, guys like Cody Garbrandt are willing to just pull out or miss weight or lose a fight because of a medical issue, and they're not as hungry as guys like Scroggin, who are just willing to compete in the UFC, even if it means that they're going to get finished in this fight. I think this is a very competitive fight, but we know that the odds don't think this fight's competitive. Elizeu Zaleski's a minus 820. 820. Bro, this guy's the same exact favorite as Carlos Prates, bro. This guy Zaleski is trash, and he's the same exact price tag as Carlos Prates. Zach is making his UFC debut, a vet. He's undefeated with his most recent win coming by decision. He has some good subs, but he also has some very good leg TKO kicks. This will be a great fight. Zaleski is a solid striker, real power, real athleticism, dangerous, but remember, he's old. And he was set to fight against Nicholas Dalby. Honestly, this is going to be one of those sketchy fights where it's a skippable fight. You can just sit back and skip this fight because we don't know too much. The unknown is very unknown in this fight. Fight doesn't go the distance, minus 200, best prop of the night. Yes, plus 158. I think fight doesn't go the distance, no, at a minus 200. Zaleski by KO or sub, minus 155. Zaleski by KO on points, minus 340. Zaleski by sub or on points, plus 110. And then Zach by KO on points, plus 650. Just in case Zach can get a KO over a guy like Zaleski. We know anything can happen in MMA. And a guy like Zach Scroggin is here, not just because he thinks he can compete in the UFC, but because he wants to compete in the UFC. So he's fighting on Saturday because he's going to give everything he's got. So I think this fight doesn't go the distance, whether it be Zach Scroggin knocking out Zaleski out cold, or Zaleski winning this fight by maybe a little tight submission or a nice grappling to decision. I think Zach Scroggin is going to be a good addition to the UFC. Maybe this ages like milk, but even if he loses this fight, I like guys like Zach Scroggin. So thank you for accepting this fight and taking this fight on short notice. Give me that this fight doesn't go the distance, and give me... So this fight doesn't go the distance, no at a minus 200, and give me Zaleski by KO or sub at a minus 155, and just in case, give me Zaleski by KO or on points at a minus 340. Very good fight. I got Zaleski to win this fight inside the distance, but preferably, just because I don't want to bet this fight, just give me this fight doesn't go the distance, no at a minus 200. Very competitive fight, very close fight, and I think it's a lot closer than the bookies make it. This is one of my most anticipated fights as well. Matthew Semelsberger versus Charles Radtke. This is one of those fights where you know that these guys are coming to fight with everything that they got. Charles Radtke has that face where I got to get something back. I got to get that back in blood. I just lost to the guy who's headlining. I got to get that back in blood. Semelsberger's 31 years old. Charles Radtke's 34. Surprising because in this picture you would think that Semelsberger's the older guy than Charles Radtke. And because whose journey is newer in the UFC? Charles Radtke. Charles Radtke's athletic grappler. Honestly, it's going to be a very competitive fight. But Charles Radtke is an athletic grappler who takes shots and immediately works for position. Also, he's a powerful striker, but he's a really good grappler. He will hunt for subs, transitions. He will mix his offense and defense really well. Randomly pulls a ghillie sometimes and slows down as the fight goes on. He can be hittable. Coming off of that KO loss to Carlos Prates, who is headlining this card, he's taking on Matthew Semelsberger, an aggressive striker, marches forward, good body work, plenty of power in his hands, 10 knockdowns in his 10 UFC fights, marching forward. Sometimes it can wilt his opponent because he's just moving forward, but it can also give him trouble because he's moving forward, bombing away, 45% takedown defense. He's given up 19 takedowns, 7 of which were in his last fight against Preston Parsons. Matt Semelsberger is always tough. Not the most skilled, but always tough. I think Charlie will land better shots, get the takedowns, and hopefully he actually shoots a takedown, and Matt's toughness keeps him in here. Give me the Charles Radtke win, and if you have an over 1.5 in your bookie, take it. Over 2.5 is in my bookie. Over 2.5 is a minus 126. Under 2.5 is a minus 102. I think this fight goes the distance. Radtke by KO on points, minus 125. Although we know Matthew Semelsberger is more likely to get a KO, if anything. So I put Semelsberger by KO on points, plus 150, just in case you want to jump on that. And Radtke by sub on points, plus 110. We know he tends to grapple a lot. Sometimes his grappling can be why he gasses so much and then his body's so weak, and then an accumulation of body shots can put a guy like Charles Radtke out. But give me that this fight goes the distance. Yes, at a plus 102, but the fight doesn't go the distance is a minus 128. I think this fight should go the distance. Yes, at a plus 102. Give me the over 2.5 at a minus 126. And give me Charles Radtke by KO on points at a minus 125. I think he should be able to win this fight. I just think Matthew Semelsberger is too tough to get submitted. If anything, you're going to have to finish a guy like Matthew Semelsberger. But I think somebody's going to get dropped this fight. Matthew Semelsberger dropped all of his last 10 opponents. But if Charles Radtke can eat that punch, come back, have good recovery, he should be able to grapple his way to a hard-fought victory and win this fight by 29-28 unanimous decision after getting dropped in the first round. And it's crazy because a guy like Matthew Semelsberger, he just needs one. He just needs one shot. Cody Stamann versus Damon Blackshear. Very competitive fight as well. You know, when I first heard this fight, I thought this fight was an underrated matchup. Plus 220 for Cody Stamann versus Damon Blackshear was minus 270. Cody is a well-rounded guy. Wrestled at, and he's boxed since he was a kid. He's wrestled at every single level, including college. He started boxing at 16 years old. And he has good hands, but no power. Averages more than 2 takedowns per fight, 76% takedown defense. He's coming off of that decision loss to Taylor Lapilus, where he had a takedown, but he missed 5 other takedowns. He's taking on Damon Blackshear, athletic beast. He can grapple as well, takedowns in all of his UFC fights except one, his last one, where he got KO'd in 18 seconds. Solid volume, technical boxing, clean takedowns, but he does have 4 UFC losses, but good quality losses. To Montel Jackson being one of them. Damon is faster, far better striking, more than just hands. Good job mixing it up, and he should win, but he's 2-4 in the UFC. He's a 3-1 favorite, but the guy loves to lose. He needs a good win. Let's see if he can get this done here. This will be his best win in the UFC if he's able to win. I think this fight is one of those fights where it's a fight where it puts you in a position where you have to choose whether you think Damon Blackshear can get this job done. He's 2-4 in the UFC. And he's at a 3-1 favorite. Do you really want to bet this fight? You don't have to. Does this fight go the distance? Yes, at a minus 350. No, at a plus 250, I don't think it will. I don't think that's likely. I think it does go the distance. Yes, at a minus 350. Over 2.5, minus 410. And Blackshear by KO on points, minus 165. Blackshear by sub on points, minus 220. And then Cody Stamann by decision or KO, plus 230. I think Blackshear should be able to win this fight. We've seen him get a twister in the UFC, and we've seen him look very good in the UFC, although he has 4 losses in the UFC. Other than his most recent loss, he's looked very good. So give me Blackshear to win this fight by unanimous decision, 29-28, after getting grappled in an exchange where he gets reversed in the first round. Very good fight, very competitive. Antonio Tricoli versus Tresean Gore, one of those fights that got moved because now the prelims are all over the place. Tresean Gore is a minus 178. Antonio Tricoli is a plus 150. I'm surprised Mackenzie Dern's not in the background, because this guy's a simp for her. But we know guys like Antonio Tricoli, he's very tall for his division, especially this being a division where he's 6'5" in. Tresean Gore is coming back after a little while away. A couple of years, in fact. Interesting guy to break down because he only has 6 professional fights. Heavy-handed, comes forward, good wrestler. Hit a slump during the first UFC fight because he wasn't wrestling at all. Gun-shy. Just sitting there. But then he got his first UFC win when he started wrestling. Good sub win over Josh Frem. 3 takedowns. He can have success with wrestling. He was scheduled to fight Bo Nickel at one point, but ironically he pulled out, and that's fine. Maybe it's better for his career. One thing about Tricoli is he has a ton of power, plenty of knockdowns and KOs because he has good reach, he has good trips. Once he gets you to the ground, he looks for chokes. He's coming off of that insane short notice loss to Shara Bullet, and I give him respect for that because he went across the world, cut weight, and he still showed up and still lost, but he went to show up and save the card. Cut weight on 3 days' notice. He gassed, but those circumstances were crazy. What is Gore going to do as a minus 2-1 favorite? Under 2.5, minus 128. I like that. I think that's the best prop. And over 2.5 is a plus 100 if you want to sprinkle that. I don't think it's likely. Gore by KO on points, minus 130. Tricoli by KO on points, plus 270. If this fight doesn't go the distance, somebody's going to get finished. So that means Tricoli has a good chance. Tricoli by KO on points, plus 270 if you want it. Earlier this week, I picked Tricoli. When we look at these guys face off, it looks like Tricoli should be able to win this fight. But I think if Tresean Gore can get this wrestling implication going and win this fight, I think if Tresean Gore can get the wrestling implications going and stall the fight a little, get this fight to the ground, don't strike with Antonio Tricoli too much, he should be able to win this fight. Fight doesn't go the distance, no at a minus 172. And if you want to take the under 2.5 at a minus 128, it's a little bit more juice. I recommend, if you want to pick somebody, I'm going to be making an official pick flip. I'm going Tresean Gore. I'm going Tresean Gore, guys, and I think he should be able to win this fight by unanimous decision, although a lot of people favor him to win by KO on points. Give me Gore to win by KO on points at a minus 130. Give me the under 2.5 at a minus 128. Give me this fight doesn't go the distance at a minus 172. And give me Tresean Gore to win this fight just money line at a minus 178. It's going to be a very competitive fight, and I'm doing this because Tricoli is out there trying to beat up Mackenzie Dern's ex. So we gotta get that shit. We gotta get that back. Come on, Tresean Gore. You gotta do this for Mackenzie Dern's ex. He's getting beat up by Antonio Tricoli, so you gotta stand up for him. Come on, Tresean Gore. Come on. Very good fight. Tricoli tries to little bro him with that little tap. Giyat. Melissa Mullins versus Claudia Salgula. Very good fight. Honestly, I'm very disappointed that we don't have Cody Garbrandt on this fight. Very disappointed. But at least we have other things that can save the card. So here we go. Claudia Salgula, plus 215 versus Melissa Mullins at a minus 260. Googly Eye Mullins. She looks a little bit better from this view. Googly Eye Mullins versus Claudia with a K, Salgula. Mullins has great composure, great offensive striking. Her head movement and defensive striking is not that good. She works in the clinch. She has good range. Looks to grapple technically. A BJJ world champ, but she doesn't look like it. Her takedowns suck, but she has great control. She's coming off of that finish loss to Nora Cornell. She's taking on Claudia with a K. Powerful striker, not afraid to engage. Likes to dance around, then find the clinch with uppercuts and knees. She's got heavy hands, good volume, but her wrestling is not good. Her get-up game sucks. She hangs out looking for subs. Melissa should win. But if she can't take down Claudia and she ends up in the clinch, that's Claudia's bread and butter. Claudia's going to be able to land some good uppercuts, good knees to the body, good knees to the head, and you don't want to be in the clinch with a girl like Claudia. She's making her UFC debut against Melissa Mullins, who recently lost to Nora Cornell, and that was a pretty competitive fight. Fight goes the distance, yes, at a minus 210. I think it's more likely. Over 2.5, just in case there's like, Jocelyn Edwards, where she gets that last minute submission and the fight doesn't go the distance, doesn't cash. So over 2.5, just in case, minus 260. Melissa Mullins by points, plus 105, and Claudia Saigula by points, plus 390. So I give you my 4 best props. I think this fight's going to go the distance. So it's either Saigula wins by points or Melissa wins by points. So pick your poison. Saigula by points, plus 390. Not bad of a sprinkle. Melissa by points, plus 105. Not bad of a sprinkle. Over 2.5, minus 260. Fight goes the distance. If you want to get fancy, minus 210. I think this is going to be a very competitive fight. I like Saigula. She's a very good-looking girl, and she's very good to be an addition for the UFC. I think we need more girls like this, and we need more matchmaking from Sheen Shelby like this. We need more Gyats in the matchmaking, and we need more good-looking women in the UFC. So I want Saigula to win. I want to choose her as an underdog. Every time I choose Melissa Mullins, she always loses. So make what you want with that. I'm making a little bit of a risky pick, but give me Melissa Mullins to win this fight by decision at a plus 105. Fight goes the distance, yes, at a minus 210, and over 2.5 at a minus 260. But there's nothing wrong with missing a fight or skipping a fight. If you want to go to the bathroom during this fight, nothing wrong with it. Very competitive fight. Melissa Mullins kind of looks like a zombie from here a little bit. So Claudia, if you can get this win, I'd gladly be wrong. So very competitive fight. I just think Claudia's get-up game and her takedown defense is trash. So this is going to be a very sloppy, ugly fight. But that's why it's on the prelims. So let me know what you guys think. Give me Melissa Mullins to win this fight by 29-28, unanimous decision, after losing the first round in the clinch exchanges. But then she gets the grappling department going in the second and third round. Very competitive fight. I'm glad that this is the first fight. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys think that this was a Gyat. Let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one. I like this, guys. Let me know if you guys enjoy the last minute predictions. And thank you guys for all the support, guys. We are 100 subs away from, actually 110 subs away from 2,000 subs. So I just want to say a quick appreciation to all you guys. The guy who's commented the most and come back is Baby Sharp MMA and Hernanov. So shout out to you guys. You guys have been showing me a lot of support. And I'm going to do this new sequence where the guy who comments the most, reoccurring or recoming, is gonna get like a little like employee of the month or something like that, like a little star of the month. So there's your little star of the month. Let me know what you guys think, guys. We're looking pretty good. 1,893. So we are 7 subs away from 1,900, and technically we are 107 subs away from 2,000. So thank you guys for all that you've given me. 2K's on the way. We're almost here. 2K's on the way. 2K, 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 2K. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for that 2K before the end of the year. Before 2025. Before 2025, I'm coming for that 2K. I'm coming for that 2K. Now it doesn't want to focus. It doesn't want to focus because I went crazy. It doesn't want to. Okay, I'm coming for that 2K though, guys. I'm coming for that 2K. Let's go. I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's go. 2K subs on the way. Thank you guys for all the support. And thank you guys for all this community support as well, because you guys always vote. And I should have some good content coming in next week. I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's get it. I hope the camera focuses. I hope the camera can actually focus. Here we go. Let's get it. I'll see you guys. Peace.